What's up, guys? It's Matt here with Tanks Lawn Maintenance. It is currently 8:45 a.m. Wednesday morning, October the 8th, 2025th year of our Lord. I want to holler at y'all for a minute, man, and I want to tell y'all a little story that happened yesterday. I got done pretty early yesterday. I hurried up and got this stuff done as fast as I could. I think I had 8 on the list altogether. Wound up being 7, and then wound up being 6, because I do have a few customers that are very cheap, and they don't want to pay more than what they have to, and don't want to get more services than what they need. These are customers that's been with me for a long time now, and I'm not gonna drop them because they are good customers. You know, they're payers. And for what I do on their property, they pay a lot. Okay. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they're cheap customers. I shouldn't have said that. But they don't care about leaves. They don't care about bushes. They don't care about beds, any of that stuff. The only thing they want is their grass cut to keep the HOA off of them. And but they do pay a premium for what they get from me. And but anyway, got done pretty early. I got done by noon yesterday. I wanted to hurry up and get everything done to make sure I could get done on time and have plenty of time to get home, get cleaned up and everything, and get to my boys' football game. They played in the middle school, the Columbia County, Georgia middle school football game, championship football game yesterday. And it's been a long time since Greenbrier Middle School has won the championship. Been a long time. And I know this isn't high school football or anything like that. It's Tuesday night football, middle school football, 4 8-minute quarters. It's not a regulation game. It's regulation for middle school, but not a normal game, you know. And but everything else is normal. Other than the minutes of each quarter. But anyway, you know, my boy, my adopted son, he's 14. He's half Mexican, 1 quarter black, 1 quarter white. Great kid, he really is. You know, it's been a struggle with him since we picked him up, and just a few things going on that he wasn't taught as a child. His previous situation, nobody ever spent time with him. Nobody taught him anything. He didn't even know the basics of life. But since he's been with us over the past year, he's grown a lot. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we have taught him a lot. He's had a lot of good people in his life over the past year and a half, other than me and my wife, man. Just a lot of people. And but you know, we put him in sports, put him in soccer. He's never played an organized sport before until he started living with us. We put him in soccer last year, let him play rec soccer for here in the county. And then for the middle school team, he went out and, you know, he made the middle school team. He was one of their leading scorers on the soccer field. Now, I don't know much about soccer. You know, didn't play it growing up. Don't really care a whole lot about it. It looks fun, but at the same time, that's just too much running for me, so I never really got into it. But he got out there and dominated the soccer field. And still a lot of growing to do. You know, he got yellow carded and red carded quite a few times, just because he did what he's following his instincts, you know, the primal instincts of human beings. And because he didn't know any better, you know, he wasn't taught any different. And we don't know to teach him something unless a certain situation arises, you know. You can't correct something that you don't know is there. But he grew a lot on the soccer field, got better, did really good, dominated the soccer field, wound up being one of the lead scorers on the team. The soccer coach wanted him to try out for football. And he's been wanting to play football for a long time. He told me that. And the reason being is because he's got a lot of pent-up aggression inside of him. And the only thing he knew about football was that you could actually hit people and not get in trouble for it. And so he wanted to take his aggression and anger out on the football field. And, you know, hearing that, it kind of sounded, man, this kid's wanting to get out there and hurt people. That ain't right, you know. That was my first instinct. But then I had to go back to when I was in middle school and high school playing football and everything. And, you know, that's normal for a boy to have that, to want to hit people. Well, he tried out for the football team, made it. All his coaches were after him. excited about him playing football and everything else because they knew he was just a natural athlete. And, my wife and I, we knew he was a natural athlete, but we didn't realize what he was. Well, he had been growing a lot during the season. When I say growing, I don't mean in size. Of course he's still growing. He's a young boy. He's going through puberty, going through a growth spurt now. But as far as his maturity and everything on the football field, he grew a lot this year. Very first game of the season, he didn't know anything. Didn't know what he was doing. He was playing linebacker. He was a punter, place kicker, deep man on the return team, and would go in every now and then as a quarterback, as a running quarterback, whenever they needed to gain a few yards to get a first down, because he's a tough kid and he's a strong kid and he's very resilient and he's tough and he's hard to bring down. The kid's strong as an ox, he really is. But over the course of the season, I think there's 7 or either 8. I think it's 7 games total in the regular season for middle school football around here, and then 8 if you include the county championship. Well, had some really good numbers. He ran for nearly 100 yards just about every game. I can't tell you how many tackles he had this year. Can't tell you how many sacks he had this year. Can't tell you how many tackles for losses he had this year. I know he kicked 2 field goals. Scored, I want to say 4 or either 5 touchdowns. I think he had a total of 9 point after attempts that were good, and also a few 2-point conversions that were good. These are his numbers now, his individual stats. Well, last Tuesday, the final game of the regular season, they had to win this game in order to go to the championship, and he had a pick 6 in the game that sealed the deal. Pretty much iced the game. A pick 6, for those of you that don't know football, it's where you intercept the ball and score a touchdown. You pick it off and you score 6 points. Pick 6, that's what they call it. And but anyway, moving on to this week, last night at the championship game. The other team scored. Took them 10 and a half minutes to score. So they were definitely winning the time of possession, the other team was. And keep in mind, there's only 4 8-minute quarters in these games. So for them to keep the ball for 10 and a half minutes in the first half and it ended in a touchdown, they didn't score. They didn't, they went for 2. It was no good. And then we got the ball back. I want to say it was like 7 or 8 minutes left in the first half when we got the ball back for the first time. First time we got the ball the entire game. With only like 7 or 8 minutes left in the half. And actually it was 6 or 7 minutes. It wasn't much at all. But anyway, my son was the deep man. He received a kickoff. And they met him. Time he caught the kickoff, they met him right there. He was down right there where he stood. In this middle school, they don't really kick the ball deep, and but anyway, he got tackled right there. Okay, he doesn't really play quarterback a whole lot. First half of the game, we scored quickly, very quickly. I want to say it was less than a minute we scored. It was a few running plays, and then they threw a deep touchdown pass, and the boys shook a few tackles and scored a touchdown. My son came in, kicked the point after. It was good. So we were up 7-6 going into the second half. Well, we deferred to the second half, so we got the ball back. Now, we got the ball back one time in the first half. I forgot to say this, but at the very end of the first half, our little quarterback, he's a gifted athlete, really good quarterback for his age, and he's a gunslinger. That's what I'm trying to say. He can throw the ball, and he's very accurate. And he got hurt. Not sure what happened to him, but he got hurt, and his wrist. Something happened with his wrist. He couldn't play the second half. Well, My son was the other quarterback, but he's a running quarterback. Doesn't have much experience throwing the ball at all. He can throw the ball. He throws the ball hard. He can throw it far. But he's never done it under pressure. And as you know, game situations are completely different than practice. Well, so I think there was one snap where they called for him to throw the ball. Wasn't much at all. And he threw a dime. And the kid dropped the pass. So every snap after that, he ran the ball. He converted quite a bit of third and fourth downs. And had to punt the ball one time. I want to say he had like a 55, 56-yard punt. And 55, 56 yards, guys, we're talking about a 14-year-old here. Not somebody that's a senior in high school or a college athlete. We're talking about a 14-year-old playing middle school football, kicking the ball 55, 56 yards. And pinned them back deep. All this, that, and the other. Well, long story short, got in a situation. He had a lot of tackles throughout the game. I think he had one sack throughout the game and a bunch of tackles for losses. And anyway, we got down to the red zone the last time we got the ball. Got down to the red zone, and I want to say it was like it was fourth down. It would have been like a 35 or 40-yard field goal attempt. And my son's never kicked a field goal that far. I think the furthest he's ever kicked one was 30. And which ain't bad. That's not bad at all for a 14-year-old. And it was either 35, 40 yards. It was pretty deep for a middle school field goal attempt. And he smoked it with about 10 yards left. He had plenty of leg. He could have kicked a 45 or a 50 if he wanted to. And which was out. I mean, it's just been a mind-blowing season for all of us. It really has. I mean, we've never seen middle school ball players play like this before. And anyway, we won the game. First time Greenbrier Middle School has won the county championship in God knows how long. And he got the game ball. It's the first time ever that an 8th grader or a 7th grader has received the game ball. And my son is 14 in the 7th grade. He's supposed to be in the 8th grade, but that's another story for another day. Not really his fault on that. But anyway, received the game ball, and after the game, they went out to the middle of the field and prayed and all that good stuff, had their meeting, at post-game meeting and all that good stuff at the middle of the field. And after the meeting, man, my son, he kept his helmet on the entire time. He didn't want to take his helmet off. And I couldn't understand why, because everybody else was out there with their helmet on, or with their helmet off, listening to the coach. And he can't, after the game, I was standing there up against the fence that separates the bleachers from the field. And he walked past everybody, ran straight to me, and just put his head on my shoulder. Full pads, full helmet, had his helmet on, everything. Kid's as tall as I am, 14 years old, as big as I am. And the truth be told, he's probably stronger than me too. But don't tell nobody that. Definitely don't tell him that. But he laid his head on my shoulders. Big ass football helmet laying on my shoulder. Can't hardly breathe because he's cutting off my circulation. And he wrapped his arms around me, and he's just bawling his eyes out, man. And I say he wrapped his arms around me. He didn't wrap his arms around me. He just kind of fell into my arms, and I embraced him. And it was a very proud moment for me. He's not my birth son, but he's my son, okay? He's my adopted son, so therefore he is my son. And I love this kid. I do. I love him like he's my own. And it was a very special moment, very proud moment. And I noticed that there were a lot of people around watching this unfold, and some of the moms were over there crying too. And of course, you got some of the moms out there with their cameras and everything wanting to snap photos of that, because it was a special moment. It really was. And you're talking about, and I'm not saying this because he's my son, I don't want to sound biased, but he really is the star of this football team. And I've never been able to say that about any of my kids except for my youngest daughter playing volleyball. He is the star of the football team, and all these kids look up to him, and all these parents out here praise him and everything, and he just runs up to his dad, ashamed to take his helmet off because he don't want people to see him crying, and he just falls into my arms, and tears are flowing like a waterfall. And I thought about it, man. I did what I could. And it's like this for every game, and it's not just him. It's like this for all of my kids. I'm always there for my kids. I'm that dad. I want my kids to be able to look into the bleachers, look on the sidelines, look up into the stands, wherever we are. And I want them to see their dad, I can't say their mom, yeah, my wife is there for every single game, and she's always there for our kids. But I can't tell you what goes on in her mind, but I can tell you what she says. And she's pretty much saying the same thing I am. She wants to be there for every single game. My wife and I, we're not the parents that ever want our kids at any given time to look up in the stands, no matter what part of the country that they're in. We don't want them to look up into the stands and not see both of their parents sitting there cheering them on. And I thought about it. There were a couple of times this season where I thought about, on game day, Tuesday nights, and with my youngest son playing soccer, there were times where I thought about skipping the game and just finishing work. That way I'm not behind, and things won't carry over to the next day, and I wind up having a bowl full of shit for the rest of the week because I wanted to go watch my kids play ball. There's been several times where I thought about that because, as you all know, it is a pain when you get behind. It really is. There's no way around that. But I say all that because I say this. If I had missed that game, I wouldn't have got a chance to experience that. And as a dad, those are some of the best moments you'll ever get with your kids. Any of your kids, and your wife as well, There's times you need to be there for your wife. And but if I would have missed that game because of work, or if I'd have still been at my full-time job that I left to start my business, I'd have still been at work. I wouldn't have got to see any of that. And there's just some things in life that's more important than money, man. It really is. And if it sounds like my voice is messed up, it's because I lost my voice last night cheering and screaming for my kid out there. But there's some things in life that's worth 10 times more than any dollar amount you could put on anything. And that is one of those moments. And I'm just thankful that I didn't miss out on that moment. But I say all that, guys, to tell you this. Don't get so caught up in your business and making a living and making money. Money is good, okay? But the Bible tells us that the love of money is the root of all evil. So don't get so caught up into making money and making a living and things like that you forget about the small stuff. Don't neglect your kids, man. And that was just a special moment that I'll never forget. And I hope my son never forgets that either. And I just wanted to share that with you guys, man. And but look, if you got something out of that, y'all leave me a comment down below. And hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, man. And if you don't agree with anything I said, I don't really care. I don't. If you don't agree with what I just said, chances are you probably don't have kids, or you do have kids, but you're a selfish individual. But either way, y'all leave me a comment down below, and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. But look, man, I'm fixing to go in here and load up to 36. Fixing to get this day started, man. I've only got 7 on the list. But hey, man, I'll catch y'all on the next video. Till then, y'all keep cutting that grass and keep making that money. I'll let y'all. Bye.